In this video tutorial, we're going to review how we use the explicit equation formula to find missing terms in geometric sequences. So this explicit equation formula, what is it? It's an equation used to find future terms in a sequence. And we read this like a sub n equals a sub 1 plus d times n minus 1. A sub n is the term that maybe we're looking for, or it's a numbered value somewhere along the pattern. A sub 1 is the very first term in the sequence. D refers to the difference between two terms. And n minus 1 is this original value, minus 1. So let's explore this further. To use the explicit equation formula, frequently the very first thing that we're going to need to find is the common difference. So let's review. Let's pretend we've got a sequence, right, with three terms, negative 30, something, and negative 18. What we can do is we're going to take this last term, we're going to subtract the first term. So it's going to be negative 18 minus negative 30. And because there's two spaces between these terms, the first term and the last term, we're going to divide it by 2. I often simply count the commas, and that's going to result in 6. So then what we can do is we can use this common difference, right? Positive 6, and we can add 6 to negative 30. So negative 30 plus 6 is negative 24. Negative 24 plus 6 is negative 18. This is the common difference. Let's review one more. So let's pretend we've got a sequence with 4 terms. We've got negative 34 and concludes with positive 56. We can do 56 minus negative 34 divided by 3, right? There's 3 spaces, and that's going to give us 30. The common difference between these terms is 30. So what are some of the steps to finding the nth term, or a sub n? The first thing that we're going to need to do in these kinds of sequences is find the common difference, and then we're going to have to find the first term. In this case, we're going to refer to it as a sub 1, and let's look at a quick example. If we're looking at this, here we see I have a sequence of 4 numbers, and I notice that the first number is negative 4. And what we can do to find the common difference is simply take the second number. So we're going to do negative 9 minus negative 4, and it's going to give us negative 5. So we just found the common difference. We've got the first term, and if we do first term plus the common difference, that's going to give us the second term. But how does this work if we are looking at sequences where we've got to find the number term and it's maybe a sub 70 as opposed to 1 or 2 down the line? Let's take a look. So in this problem, we've got to find the 36th term. And let's see what we're working with. We have a sequence with 4 terms. It starts with negative 4 thirds, and negative 5 thirds, 2, and negative 7 thirds. So the first thing that we're going to need to do is find the common difference. So if we take negative 5 thirds, right, and then we're going to subtract negative 4 thirds, that's going to give us negative 1 over 3. That's our difference. So now what we're going to need to do is plug this into our explicit equation formula. So we know a minute ago, right, we're looking for the 36th term. So we're going to do a sub 36 equals the first term, which is negative 4 over 3, plus negative 1 over 3. That's the difference, right? And then we've got n minus 1. In this case, it's 35 because 36 minus 1 obviously is 35. We then multiply negative 1 over 3 times 35 over 1. And when we do, we're going to get negative 35 over 3. We're simply going to bring down this first term, and then we've got to do the math. So negative 4 over 3 plus negative 35 over 3, fortunately the denominators are the same, that's going to give us negative 39 over 3. And negative 39 over 3 is our 36th term, and this is our answer. What do we do when we don't have a sequence of numbers and we don't start out knowing the first term? In this case, we've got a sub 24 equals 684, meaning the 24th term in this pattern is 684. The common difference is positive 30, and we need to find a sub 52. How do we find this 52nd term? Let's jump in. So again, we know this information right here, and we know this explicit equation formula. We're going to be using this in virtually every problem as we explore this arithmetic sequences. So what we're going to do is we're going to change a sub n to a24 equals a sub 1 plus 30. What we're doing is we're simply plugging in these numbers, and it's going to be 30 times 23. Why 23? Because it's n minus 1. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take and change a sub 24 to 684. We know that because that's the information given at the beginning of the problem. 684 equals a sub 1 plus 30, the difference, times 23. We're going to apply the order of operations, and we know that 30 times 23 is going to give us 690. So we're left with 684 684 equals a sub 1 plus 690. We're going to do inverse operations and subtract 690 from both sides, and when we do, we just figured out what the first term is. A sub 1 equals negative 6. So we now know the 24th term, we know the first term, we know the common difference. How do we figure out what the 52nd term is? Again, we're going to apply the explicit equation formula. We know that a sub 52 equals the first term, which is negative 6, right? We just learned that right there. Plus the common difference, which is 30, times 51, because 51 is n minus 1. And when we do that, 30 times 51 is 1530, plus negative 6. We're almost done. And that's going to give us 1524. This is our answer. 1524 is the 52nd term. Let's explore another problem where we have a identified term, in this case a sub 20 equals 16. We've got the common difference, which is 1.5, and we need to find a sub 24. How do we do that? We're going to start with the explicit equation formula, and a sub n equals a sub 1 plus d, the common difference, times n minus 1. All right, so let's plug in a sub 20, which we got right there, equals a sub 1 plus the common difference, 1.5, times 20 minus 1. And we're going to swap out a sub 20 for 16 because we see that they are equivalent at the top. 16 equals a sub 1 plus 1.5 times 19. And we're about to find a sub 1. 16 equals a sub 1 plus 28.5. We're going to then apply the inverse operation. And when you subtract 28.5 from each side, you're going to get negative 12.5. So that is our first term. All right, so we are good to go. We're cruising. Now what we need to do, of course, is find a sub 24. So a sub 24 equals negative 12.5. That's our first term. We just found that out, plus the common difference, which is 15. 24 minus 1 is 23, and minus 1. And then let's work through it. We're going to multiply 1.5 times 23. We're going to get 34.5. We add that to negative 12.5. That's our first term. And when we do, that gives us 22. So the 24th term in this sequence is 22. Tremendous. If we preview this problem, we see it looks a little bit more complex than previous ones, and there are some differences. Notably, we don't start off with a common difference or first term. Instead, we've got a sequence, and we need to find the 27th term. All right, so fractions can be daunting for some of us. What we need to do is we need to make sure that the denominators are the same all the way across. So how do we do that? In this case, what we're going to do is we're going to multiply these two terms, or these two fractions, by 2, the numerator and the denominator by 2. And when we do that, we can see that 4 times 2 is 8, 3 times 2 is 6, and 1 times 2 is 2, and 3 times 2 is 6. So now we are good to go. We've got denominators that are identical all the way across, and we need that to add and subtract. It's going to make our life much, much easier. So let's do 5/6, right, minus 8/6, and that's going to give us the common difference. In this case, it's going to be negative 3/6, all right? One step down, a few more to go. We're going to then plug in this difference right over there. And we know that the first term is 8/6, right? We're not going to use 4/3. We're going to keep it 8/6. We're going to plug in this a sub 1. And we know that we're looking for a sub 27. All right. So 8/6 plus negative 3/6 is 26, or 26/1. Same thing. And we know it's 26 because n minus 1. And when we do a little bit of math, when we multiply -3 times -26, it's going to give us -78. And 6 times 1 is going to give us 6. So 8, next step, 8 minus 78 is -70. The denominator stays the same all the way across. So a sub 27 is -70 over 6, but we're not done. We've got to simplify. And to do that, we can actually divide it by 2. And the 27th term is -35 over 3. That is our answer. Let's do another problem with fractions because these are kind of fun. Again, we've got a number of fractions with different denominators, and we need to find the 22nd term. Great. So the first thing, like always, we got to make these denominators the same, and I can see that we've got 721. We could actually simply take the first and the last term, and we can multiply it by 3 so that we've got 21 all the way across the board. So -8 times 3 is -24. 7, of course, times 3 is 21. And then let's look over here. We've got 6 times 3 is 18. 7 times 3 is 21. So we've got a sequence that works for subtraction. We got to use that right now because we've got to find the common denominator. So we can do 18 over 21 minus 4, and that gives us gives us 14 over 21. This is our common difference. All right, so let's plug this in to our problem. So a sub n, in this case, a sub 22 equals our first term plus the difference times 21 over 1 because it's n minus 1. And we're going to always, and this is really important, follow order of operations. We're always going to multiply before we add. Make sure you do that because if you don't, you're going to get a wrong answer. So 14 times 21 is going to give us 294. And 21 times 1 is going to give us 21. Let's wrap this up. So we know that the first term, -24 over 21 plus 294 over 21 is going to give us 270 over 21. That is the 22nd term. We're not done. Let's simplify a little bit further. And when we do, when we divide it by 7, we're going to get 90 over 3. That is the answer. Nice job, guys. What do we do? Well, we need to find the 24th term of a sequence, but we're only given the 19th term and the 31st term. Well, we're going to use actually a new formula. What is that formula? That's going to be the difference over a sub f minus a sub I over f minus I. So this is a sub final minus a sub initial over final minus initial. And what do these mean? Well, the numerator refers to the values. In this case, it's going to be 181 and 301 over the count, which is the numbered term. In this case, it's going to be A19, A sub 19, and A sub 31. So let's plug that in. And when we do, it's going to look a little bit like this. So we're going to take 301. This is the final term. This is the final value minus 181. Plug that in on the top. Over 31, the count, the final count, and minus the initial count. And when we do the math, we're going to figure out that that equals 120 over 12. That's our difference. We can simplify that to simply 10. 120 divided by 12 is 10. All right, so this is our difference. Now we've got to find that first term. How do we do that? Well, what you can do is you're going to pick either this information or this information. In this case, we're going to select a sub 19 equals 181. I lied. We're going to select a sub 31 equals 301, and we're going to plug the 31st term in to our explicit equation formula. A sub 31 equals a sub 1 plus 10, which we just found out is our common difference, and we're going to multiply that by 30 because that's n minus 1. When we do that, we're then going to change a sub 31 to the value. We're going to change it from the count to the value, which we know is 301, and we know that because it says it right there. All right, we're always going to be referring back to that. Change it to 301 equals a sub 1 plus 300. The difference times n minus 1 is 300. We're then going to do inverse operation, subtract 300 from both sides, and we're left with just 1. 300 minus 301 minus 300, simply 1, and that is our first term, a sub 1. So close. We're approaching the third and final stage. So what do we need to even find out in this problem? We need to find out the 24th term. So we're going to refer back to this explicit equation formula. We're going to plug in a sub 24 equals the first term. We know that's the first term because we legit just found it out like a second ago. Plus 10, the common difference, times 23, n minus 1. 24 minus 1 is 23. So a sub 24 equals 1 plus 230, and the 24th term is 231. Can't simplify it any further. This is our answer. So when we're given a problem that has two terms that we know, in this case, a sub 11 equals negative 137. We know the 11th term. We also know the 32nd term, which is negative 347, and we've got to find out what this 40th term is. This is our objective. We're going to do the same thing that we did before, using this new formula to find this difference. This is critical. This is crucial right here. So again, we're going to do a sub f minus a sub I over f minus I. Of course, final minus initial. And let's plug in these values. All right, so negative 347, the final value, minus the initial value over the final count, which is 32, minus the initial count, which is 11. And when we do the little math in our handy-dandy calculator, we're going to get negative 210 over 21. Pretty sure we can simplify that further, and when we do, the difference is negative 10. All right, so we got that first step, we found the difference. Let's take a look at what happens next. We've got to select one of these two pairs. All right, so a sub 11 equals negative 137, or this one. Either way, you're going to get the same answer. Let's say we take a sub 11 equals negative 137. We're going to plug a sub 11 into our explicit equation formula. So it equals a sub 1, which we don't know yet. We need to find out. That's the next step. Plus negative 10, our common difference. We know it's negative 10 because we just found out the difference. Times n minus 1, and in this case it is 11 minus 1. It's going to give us 10, and we're going to change a sub 11 into negative 137 because that's the value when we look at it, right? We're always going to be referring back to this. And let's do a little bit of math. Negative 10 times positive 10 is a negative 100. We've got to isolate and find a sub 1, and when we add 100 to both sides, we're going to get negative 37. All right, so that's another missing link. So what happens next? We've got to find a 40. We've got the common difference. We've got that initial term. Let's get cracking. All right, negative 40 equals negative 37 plus negative 10, the common difference, times 39, n minus 1, gives us what? Negative 10 times 39 is negative 390. Negative 37 minus 390 is going to give us the final answer. In this case, negative 427. Amazing. This was kind of awesome. Nice job, guys. Let's do a few more problems. So let's say we know that a sub 20, the 20th term, equals negative 106. Let's say the 34th term equals negative 162. And we've got to find the 38th term. We start with the common difference. We then find the first value, the first term, and then we apply the explicit equation formula. To find the difference, we need to use this formula. And when we do, right here, we're going to plug in negative 106 minus negative 162 minus negative 106 over 34 minus 20. We know that because we're simply dropping in this information. And that's going to give us negative 56 over 14. And when we simplify negative 56 over 14, we're going to get simply negative 4. All right, so we found the difference. So now what we need to do is find a sub 1. So let's take this first term. So we're going to do a sub 20 equals negative 106. And we're going to swap in a sub 20 for a sub n equals a sub 1, we don't know that yet, plus the difference, which is negative 4, times 20 minus 1, which is n minus 1. That's going to give us 19. 19 times negative 4 is going to give us negative 76. Bam. We're also going to change a sub 20 to negative 106 because that is the relationship between the two. These are identical. These are the same thing. And we want to figure out what the value is of a sub 1. And when we do a little bit of math, we can determine by applying inverse operations that a sub 1 equals negative 30. We found out our first term. Beautiful. All right. Now let's jump over here. We remember that we've got to find a sub 38, the 38th term. That's our objective. Let's do a little bit of math. We're going to pump in first term plus common difference times n minus 1. Negative 4 times 37 is negative 148. Negative 30 minus 148 is negative 178. That is our 38th term and the answer to this question. Check plus. Alright guys, this is the last problem in this tutorial. We've got two terms. We've got a sub 10 equals negative 108, and we've got a sub 32 equals negative 306. We've got to find a sub 37. First thing, we've got to find the common difference using this formula. We're going to plug in this information. So here we've got a sub f, here we've got a sub I, here we've got simply the final count minus the initial count. When we do the math, we can see that d equals negative 198 over 22, and that's going to give us negative 9. So we found the difference. Beautiful. So now we've got to find the first term, a sub 10. We'll use this pair right here, a sub 10 equals negative 108. Let's plug in a sub 10 equals a1. We got to find out what this first term is, a sub 1, plus the common difference, which we just found out, times 10 minus 1, which we know is 9. 9 minus the difference, negative 9, is going to give us negative 81. We're going to change a sub 10 into negative 108 because that is the value. And what are we left with? Negative 108 equals a sub 1 minus 81. We're going to apply the inverse operation to both sides by adding 81. And that's going to leave us with the first term, negative 27. So then, what are we figuring out again? We got to find out what the 37th term is. So when we do that, let's use the explicit equation formula. A sub 37 equals negative 27, the first term, plus the common difference, times 36 n minus 1. When we do the math, that's going to give us negative 351. That is our answer. And this is the final problem in this review for our upcoming assessment. Good luck, guys. Thank you for watching this video tutorial, and if you have any additional questions, please visit mrdrozd.com.